Today's episode is sponsored by Trotter and Patel Pediatric Dentistry and Orthodontics. Trotter and Patel is a respected provider of pediatric dental and orthodontic care located in the Free Home area of Canton, Georgia. They're a sweet married couple. Dr. Trotter handles the dentistry and Dr. Patel handles the orthodontics. They provide the highest quality of care and the most comfortable environment possible. I always hated going to the dentist, but my son loves going there because they truly do whatever they need to make him feel comfortable. I cannot recommend them highly enough. Plus, when our son needed braces, we discovered they were affordable on top of being amazing. They are always supporting the community schools, local organizations, and most of all, their own patients. Please visit their website at trotterpatel.com. That's TROTTERPATEL.com and schedule your child for a cleaning or a free orthodontics consultation today. Okay, today's topic is motherhood after addiction. I feel so fortunate to share this discussion with you today. I could have only had this conversation with one person. Michelle Harris is a friend from my hometown. I was able to witness her journey since high school through her addiction and now her more than 5 years in recovery. Her transformation blew me away. She was someone you always rooted for and believed that she was going to be able to tackle her addiction one day, and when she did, the sky would be the limit. She talks transparently about what it's like to regain your relationships with your children after addiction has torn them apart. She also talks about what it's like to have her baby girl just a few months ago and be sober and a healthy mom for the first time. I'm so grateful for her vulnerability because I believe moms everywhere can take something away from her experience. And it just may be the conversation that saves someone's life or their relationship with their child. Listen thoughtfully.
Go, Mommy! Go! The best mom ever. You are the best mom ever.
This is the Go Get Mom podcast.
So I started using drugs when I was right out of high school, in my 20s. The first drug I ever tried was ecstasy. So I skipped the whole marijuana thing and went straight into the hardcore drugs.
Yeah.
Of course, marijuana and things like that came after it, but I was instantly addicted to speed. And it's just like you start graduating from one drug to the next. And let me say this, I did not grow up in an environment where drugs were used. I did not grow up around, we were friends. None of my friends did drugs. I just fell into a different mix of people where drugs were present, partying and stuff like that. And I would say, thinking back, I always have been, I guess, a people pleaser. Mm-hmm. So that played a big part in me saying yes to things I did not need to say yes to. And I did ecstasy. I was partying in the clubs. It started out just as a weekend thing. Before you know it, I graduated on to doing cocaine. Cocaine totally destroyed me for years. Got it together for a little while. Had kids, got married, drugs came into my marriage, destroyed my marriage. Methamphetamines and pain pills and opiates came into my life, and that's when things really went crazy.
And that's destroying like so much of our whole country right now.
It's horrible. It is the biggest epidemic ever. Meth has, when meth hit the scene, this world went crazy, in my opinion. Like, it is... it's horrible. It is horrible. The things that go along with meth, you are in a very dark place. There's a lot of hallucinations, a lot of you don't care. You do not care what you've got to do to get the drug, who you're hurting in the process. Your kids cannot get you clean. My kids could not get me clean. Mm-hmm. I had to do that myself. So I had to finally be fed up and had enough, because it's a horrible way to live. It really is.
Well, yeah, and I think that's what a lot of the, a lot of the judgment comes from when you have children.
Yeah.
You're almost extra expected to be able to overcome your addiction.
Oh,
but
gosh, yeah.
I would imagine it just makes it more complicated.
It makes it more complicated because not only, it's like every time I fell down harder. So every time I try to pick myself up, I'm trying to be this perfect mom. Perfectionism has always played this huge role in my mind, in my mentality, and like the way I thought things were supposed to be, the way I thought my life was supposed to look like. I think that drove my addiction, Cindy, because I just was like, I've ruined my whole life. I've ruined their life. Like, I picture myself this PTO mom at all the ball games, doing all these things, having the kids over, slumber parties, like all that happened for a very short period of time. But drugs took that from me. So when I could not relate to anybody else, and I felt like I was alone, I felt like I was alone, and I was just a piece of dirt and trash. Like, I felt unworthy. So it would just pull me down further. And I tell everybody, I work in addiction recovery now, of course, and I tell everybody, my kids could not get me clean. Yeah, the drug was too strong for that. I had to be done. I had to do that for myself. Of course, I love my children. Oh my gosh, I love them so much. But I was so sold out to that drug that it was horrible. Like, it was just devastating looking back.
When I think part of the problem too is we don't always understand the root of addiction. Like, we just think of, well, you shouldn't have gone to those parties, or you shouldn't have hung out with those people. But how much of your addiction do you feel like is rooted in just because you tried drugs or a genetic component? And then how much of it is a coping mechanism for like a deeper issue or a deeper struggle that you're having?
So all those things can play into one. So I can relate to every one of those. Should I have said yes to that drug? No, I knew better, but I still did it. Was I automatically addicted? Yes. I loved it. It did something to me. I would be lying to you if I told you I did not. I absolutely loved the way it made me feel. For what reason? I was insecure with myself, so this made me feel sure of myself around guys, around whatever it was at the time that I was dealing with as my younger self. So genetically, addiction does run in my family. Alcoholism has run in my family for generations and generations. And then also as a coping mechanism, absolutely. Eventually, it did become a coping mechanism because guess what? I am causing destruction miles long. I could sit here and tell you everything that happened to me through drugs, rapes, abortions, anything you can think of that comes along with just selling yourself to men for drugs. Of course, at this point in time, eventually you're going to be using it to cope because you can't even stand yourself. You can't even look at yourself in the mirror and know who you are.
Yeah.
So all three of those things played a part.
Well, and that's what I think we don't pay enough attention to, is that then what happens is then you have to heal from all those things in addition.
Yeah.
And a lot of people lack the kind of sympathy and compassion.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Like, that those things happened while you're using drugs, then they don't count.
Then you deserved it.
You deserve it. Yeah.
Some people feel that way, but it's like, it
affects you just the same.
It affects you, and that also affects you too, because you do know that there are people out there that feel that way, but you have to get out. You have to not receive that, because that's not true. Because, for instance, someone that may be listening to this today is feeling the exact same way, but she is worthy. He is worthy. You are worthy of all the things that was in your heart as a child to be. And you can overcome it. I tell everybody, I tell the girls at the center, I say, y'all, getting clean was the easy part for me. I finally was like, I'm done. I can't live like this anymore. I didn't know what the future looked like for me, but I knew I was done doing drugs. It's like an onion. It's like peeling back layers of an onion. The healing part has been difficult for me. Dealing with all the hurt I've caused other people, the pain in learning my identity is not a drug addict. That, I am Michelle. I am called. I am worthy. I am a daughter of the Most High King. And I cannot sit here and do a podcast and not give praise to Jesus, because I love Jesus, and He is... it's only because of Him that I'm clean. And, me finally surrendering this drug. So, yeah.
Well, and that, so when you do try to come out of that, I'm sure every time you probably tried to stop. One of the big players in your mind is probably your children.
Yeah.
Because so you were you sober when you had your first son?
Jalen.
Right.
I was sober pregnant with him. But I would say I was partying some here and there. So after Jalen was born, I started using cocaine. So I had already tried drugs, but I was, I had it together enough to where I had a little house and him, and we were making it. But, long story short, drugs started just, I think he was 1 or 2, and I started 2 years old for sure. I started partying a lot more. And, I'd get sober enough for a little while and have a child, have my next child, or get married, and we had this perfect little marriage for a little while, you would think. But we were doing drugs, gosh, extremely behind closed doors. So, I would keep it together for a little while. But eventually, Cindy, I lost my children. And of course, my marriage fell apart, and, I was out there alone. And so not only do I feel horrible because I don't have my kids, I've lost a career, I've lost my house, cars, I've lost everything. My family won't talk to me. They didn't know where I was for months on end. And I'm out there in the streets selling drugs, trafficking drugs. I'm in and out of jail. I'd get in jail and I'd reach out to my kids and let them know where I was. And of course they think, well, same old thing, she's going to be right back out there getting high. And most of the time I was.
So what about the one time you weren't? Like, how did you go back? Because I feel like I'm thinking of who do I want to listen to this? Who do I hope is listening? And I feel like mostly people who either, are in that recovery that they maybe stay in.
Right.
But they feel like the damage is done.
I think when I finally realized that there was help, the whole time you're thinking also, my family hates me, they don't love me. They were just waiting for me to give this drug up and say, okay, now do you want to do this? Now do you want help? There are so many resources out here that will help you. There are people that will just love you to sobriety, literally. And, I remember and I say this I give my testimony a lot in churches and different places, and I say this, and this is exactly what happened. I had been doing drugs for years. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I did not know if I would ever be able to talk to my kids again. I didn't know, but I knew that something clicked in me, and Cindy, I was at the point of a nervous breakdown. You could show me a picture of my children and I would not know that was them. I'd tell you that wasn't them. I had literally almost lost my mind, and I knew I was losing my mind. And I just, I knew I had to get sober now or this was it. So something just shifted in me, and I just cried out and I just said, God, if you'll get me clean, if you help me do this, I'll serve you the rest of my life, and I'll do whatever I can to help other men and women in addiction. I'll help pull them out the pits too. And sure enough, it's like he just sent in an army, and people just started coming out of the woodworks. And I found this sweet place that I work at now, and they just loved me to no end. And it didn't happen at first, Cindy. I'd had a daughter that I gave up for adoption. I've had other children. I've had abortions. There's a lot more hurt here. Like there's a lot I could go into. And I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know if I'd ever see any of these kids again. But slowly but surely, as I started healing and I started working through things, they started showing up.
And I think was it different this time because you were doing it for you?
Yeah, not for nobody else.
Out of guilt and
you
shame.
Cannot do it for. I couldn't do it for my brother. I couldn't do it for my mama. I couldn't do it for my daddy. I couldn't do it for anybody. Any of my children, I could not do it for them at all. I had to do it for myself. I had to do it for myself.
You had to want.
I had to want
for
it.
yourself.
Yeah,
to
because
deserve
everybody
a better
else
life.
can want it for you. Everybody else,
and
can
they
want
do.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're just begging you, like, please. And until you really want it and know, I am better than like I don't have to live like this because nobody out there does. You don't have to stay stuck in that same cycle of getting high, of trying to fix it. You can't fix it on your own. You've got to have some help. Seriously. Once you've reached the point I was at, there was no way I could do that on my own. I couldn't.
But the motivation ultimately had to be you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You wanted to be healed and you felt you deserved that
I deserved the healing. Yes, yes.
And so by that point, you had, how old were all of your children?
My oldest son, Jalen, is 19. So then there was Kaylee that I gave up for adoption, and when she was born, and I've never even talked about this publicly, Cindy, actually, but I had another child in addiction. His dad took him from me immediately when I was in very active meth addiction. A lot of people don't know that because I never talk about it. And it's so funny that I'm even saying this now. It's not funny, but it's just I was listening to a song on the way here, and it's called You Make Me Brave. And something in me, something started me that I needed to speak out about this today.
Wow.
Have I seen him yet? No. His dad's family, his dad has him, and they're not ready for that yet. I haven't reached to the point where we're even at a point of I even know what to do, to be honest with you. So that's what me and my husband are praying about and trying to work through, like, what's the next step there. But Connor is 13, and he's very active in my life. Jalen's very active in my life. Jax, I don't get to see him yet, but I will.
And so how old is he?
8 years old.
Okay.
And then there is Kaylee, who is 16, and now we have sweet baby Charlotte.
Yes,
so
you
she
have
is
a brand new baby.
Yep.
Oh, and she's so cute.
She's so sweet.
She's got a head full of hair.
Oh my gosh, she was born with so much hair. Yes, absolutely.
She looks like you and Dusty.
Yeah. Everybody said she looks like Dusty. I love it.
She does. She does to me too. So what, like you said, so then you're in various points of healing with
Still.
your children.
Yeah, 5 years. I've been sober 5 years. Yeah. So we're all at different stages. And it's, oh gosh, Cindy, you just have to be patient and tender and listen. There's a lot of listening going on in this season. They've been through a lot, and there's no more of me making up excuses. This is how I hear how they feel, and they are, and I let them know you are, what's the word I'm looking for? You have every right to feel that way. That
You're
is valid.
validating
Yeah,
them.
I'm validating their feelings because they need to know that, like, Mom, you were not here. You were not here. And you're right. I was not there. I was in and out.
That's powerful though, Michelle, because the fact that they can say it, because so many kids never get the chance to say that to their parents and it be received. Some never get the chance to say it.
Right.
But then also to have that parent receive it.
That's right.
It's so important for them.
It is. And I really believe when I started, because in the beginning, when I started, when I was able to start seeing them, after I was in recovery for a little while, I wasn't ready to even hear all those things. It freaked me out. Oh my gosh. And I was like, I can remember trying to make excuses up a lot. Like, well, this happened or this, and I was blame it on the dad or blame it on whoever. I had to take full responsibility, full ownership. That was my addiction. That wasn't my ex-husband's addiction. That wasn't, my dad's, whoever. It was not, it was mine. I made those choices. I made those decisions. They have been through HELL and back, and they deserve to be able to say what they needed to say. And that's just how it continues to be. And they're healing. And oh my gosh, so much joy. They're so much more joyful now, and just happy, and they trust me. That is huge. There was a time, Cindy, where I couldn't be trusted to stay at my mom's house by herself, or given keys to a business, or alone with my kids. I couldn't even be alone with my children. Somebody was scared I was going to be so high out of my mind that I couldn't take care of them. So yeah, they trust me, and they know they can tell me things, and that it's between me and them. I'm a safe place for them now, and that's took a long time, but we're here, and I'm so proud for that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's just looking back even now as I'm saying this, I'm like, man, this is so awesome, because we haven't been in this season long, but it's beautiful. And even coming up to it has been beautiful. There's, like me and you and Kimber were talking about earlier, there's such beauty in the brokenness because we grow so much from it. So I can honestly sit here today and say, gosh, I would never choose to take my kids back through that season, but am I proud of where we are now? Absolutely. We wouldn't be the people, I wouldn't be the person I am right now if it wasn't for that addiction. So I'm thankful.
Yeah, well, you have an authentic relationship with them. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think every parent can take something away from that, because we do often try to hold ourselves on a pedestal, or like not let our kids see that we have flaws, and you weren't given that option. That wasn't going to be an option for you to have a relationship with your kids.
Absolutely.
But I think we all could do that more, because I think that they know it.
Absolutely.
Like, I think your kids probably knew the minute that your connection with them was sincere.
Oh, absolutely. I do believe that too. And you can, and I think I can even look back and see when it's like their eyes were open to, okay, she's for real. Like, this is real now. Like, this is my mom. Because there was a time they were scared to death of me. I was out of my mind high half the time. So I can remember those looks from them, like, what are you doing? Like, what is going on? Who are you? So yeah.
That's rough to go from that, having that memory, and then look at the memories that you're creating now. Is just crazy to know that that's possible.
It is
and
possible.
I think that's important to
it's
say.
so possible.
That's possible.
Yes.
And so I'm sure, with your kids that you've had the opportunity to heal from, it sounds like you're healing. But then so you gave birth to Charlotte 3 months ago, which is crazy. You look pretty good.
Thanks.
What was that like? Because now you're going through motherhood
Sober.
in healthy sober,
Yeah.
not like white knuckles sober.
Oh my gosh. So everything is different. Now, every one of my children are beautiful and perfect, and every pregnancy was different. But I will say this. I can go two angles with this. It is wonderful and beautiful, but I've had to fight off some just lies too, that I wasn't good enough to be her mom because I failed at being a mom before. But I'll tell you this, Charlotte is the most peaceful, loving child I've ever met at 3 months old. She is so, she's got this spirit of just peace with her because my pregnancy was so peaceful. Her environment is so peaceful, which my other kids didn't have that. There was a lot of fighting and fussing going on in our environments back then. So now just this is totally different from what I lived before. It's a whole different life. And Cindy, you know, like I said, at first I had to really fight off those lies. Like, how are you going to be a mom to this beautiful daughter when you gave up your first daughter for adoption? Okay. How is Kaylee going to feel about that? All these things came flooding in. How are your boys going to feel? How, you know, you've still got a son that you don't even get to see. I cannot tell you all the things I've had to fight off in my mind that I wasn't worth. So it's like all those feelings came flooding back in, and me and Jacob had to literally work through months of healing from this, and just, you know, affirming within myself that I am worthy. This is a beautiful gift. We have a beautiful daughter coming. I have a beautiful marriage, and I'm going to be the best mom I can be with no guilt and shame because she's worthy. My children are worthy of seeing me step into that role as a mama. And you know, we've worked through we've all worked through some things as Charlotte's been born of them feeling, you know, I've even asked them, do you feel left out? How do you feel right now? What does this make you feel like? Be sure to ask, like if any mom out there is in this place right now, ask them how they're feeling. That's important to them. But most of all, they have received Charlotte with love. I feel like they love the mom that I've become now. Aww. And it's really been beautiful. I mean, yeah, so I kept thinking the whole way here, like, what does mom after addiction look like? And it's so powerful because I'm not that old mom. I'm not that old Michelle. I am a good mama, you know, and I love my children. I love every single one of my children, and I deserve them.
Yeah.
And
well, who is going to benefit if you went down the shame spiral, right?
Absolutely.
It's the thing
Charlotte's
you were saying.
Yeah, Charlotte's going to grow up the same cycle that my kids went through, but it's going to look a little different, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Well, and when I hear you read off what you were thinking to yourself, you sounded like an internet troll. Like you sounded like the worst person. Like what kind of jerk would be, like if someone not you was asking you those questions?
Absolutely.
I would be like, what an ass.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
What
Seriously.
a horrible person.
Yes.
And so the fact that that's you talking to yourself and asking those questions, but we all do that.
We all do. So I would be lying if I said I did not. People have actually asked me, how are the kids adjusting? How does this make you feel? You know, and honestly, I've avoided it a lot. I'm like, oh, we're fine. Everything's fine. I haven't really openly admitted that. And that's the truth. Like, that's the truth. I did have all those feelings coming back, or those lies in my mind, you know, but I know that they're lies. And I know.
Well, and who benefits? Like, for you to be able to silence that and not go down that trail shows a lot of growth and strength, because you know you're not going to be a better person for having that kind of thought and dialogue with yourself. Charlotte's, what's it going to help her for you to think you don't deserve her?
Right.
And then all your relationships that you've repaired with your kids, they're not going to benefit from you thinking that.
That's right. That's right. So, yeah.
That's pretty cool and pretty resilient and strong of you.
Yes.
We talked about that earlier, about like how we're so much stronger
after heartache and being in the pit for a little while. I like to say a lot, like, man, there was a lot of power in that, just walking out of the fire. And I always say this, like, I came out of the fire with buckets of water for the people still down there, and I swear I'm going for. So
that's what I think that's what every broken person does.
Yeah,
if they can heal,
absolutely,
the first thing they do is turn around to help somebody else.
Absolutely, yeah. Because we know you're able to do, like, if I can get sober, as bad off as I was, I promise you anybody else can too.
Yeah, well, and that's the point. like that you know that and that you can come back from
That's
anything.
right. Yep.
But it has to be about you.
You can't do it for so and so or your boyfriend or your baby daddy or nobody else. You got to do it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now, what do you look forward to? So you've achieved a lot. You've come a long way, right? So now that where you are now, what's your next hope and goal? I know that it's obviously to talk to your son that you don't still have a relationship with.
One of my number one goals. I don't know what that looks like right now, and I just keep trusting and praying and keep, I know that God's going to make a way. I don't know what it's going to look like or how long it will be, but I do know that He will make a way. And I have to remind myself again that I am worthy enough to still be His mom too. No matter what that family says or what they say or their opinions of me, I am worthy. Mm-hmm. So I will keep trusting in that. And Cindy, I'm just, I work for a recovery center, and I spend a lot of time with those women. I spend a lot of time just trying to be a good wife and mom, just walking in that, and just family. I think more so now, more than ever, I really get how important family is. Mm-hmm. Because I just ran so long from feeling like I had, destroyed my family before. So now, that's the most important thing to me, is just spending time with my family and making wonderful memories, and also just being an advocate for addiction recovery, and just chasing my goals and dreams, because I always say this, there are goals and dreams as a little girl that I had in my heart that I'm still running for. Like, I'm coming back for every single one of them. Good for you. And that's where I'm at now. And yeah, I'm just a dream chaser now.
But good for you, because I think that's what a lot of people, when they're in their addiction.
Oh my gosh, and it will drive your addiction. When you start thinking, I've ruined every dream I ever had for myself, there is no need. Like, me and Jacob were talking yesterday about somebody that their baseball career was ruined as a teenager because of an accident or something like that. And I'm like, man, and that person ended up in addiction. I can see where that drove their addiction. They felt like they were never going to be or could never have those dreams and goals that they had always hoped for. So they're like, that was their identity. But there's so many of them down, like, in us that we've just got to pull out, and yeah, they'll start manifesting if we just believe in ourselves and just speak it. Like, I speak life over myself.
Yeah, make it till you make it.
Yeah, every day. So yeah.
Yeah, because it's never too late.
No, it's never too late. Never.
And I just think only people who really get to the mountaintop
absolutely
know that that's without a doubt true.
Absolutely. I'm 39 years old, and I say this all the time. I am more alive and more healthy and more on fire for just life than I ever have been in my entire life.
Michelle does health coaching in addition to her work at Valley Rescue Mission. So to follow her journey and be a part of it, go to facebook.com/MMelsonAmerson. I'm going to spell that for you. MMELSONAMERSON. Yay, you finished the whole episode! The Go Get Mom podcast is part of the Kid Factory, a not-for-profit project aimed at finding solutions to the mental health crisis our kids and teens are facing. For more about the podcast and the project, go to thekidfactory.org, or you can follow us on Instagram at @the_kid_factory. And to help me know if I'm doing a good job, be sure to leave a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to right now.